So tonight we got a Transformer Slag YouTube live stream. Be sure to come by to the live stream, hang out, do some super chats, and talk Transformers. We got a lot of news this week to talk about. We're going to review the news and everything too. But let's talk about right now what's going on with the Transformers and the live action movieverse. Now, we know that we have the one movie by Steven Caple Jr., this, and I use air quotes here, Beast Alliance that's going on. We have some information in relation to that. But we have some new information in relation to the other Transformer movie. Apparently, there was two movies that were being worked on, two different scripts, and now we have some more information on what's going on with that other untitled Transformer movie. It seems that the director for this movie, Angel Manual Soto, did a podcast a few days ago, and we got some information in relation to what's going on. So we're going to jump into that. I have pretty much here, it was a translation of the podcast, and I'm just going to kind of go through the notes here. So it's here. Mr. Soto stated that the premise for this new Transformer movie will take place outside the United States. The story does not involve the military. I guess there's a really strong emphasis on that because, well, to be fair, a lot of the Transformer movies, even the one of the Bumblebee movie, which is kind of supposed to be outside of the standard stuff, still involved the military. The interesting thing here is that the plot is stated to be completely outside the Bayverse. That is really interesting because that leaves an opening to be its own thing. Aesthetically, story-wise, it's not tied to anything. So that's a really, really key thing to have there. But to be fair, we've heard that before during the development of the Bumblebee movie when they were flip-flopping and not really knowing, is it part of the Bayverse? Is it not? Is it a reboot? Is it a soft reboot? So while that is, exciting news to hear, at the same time, we've kind of heard it before. It says here, additionally, the director described the inception of the movie in question. He got a call from Paramount around 2020 after the Sundance Film Festival, where they were showcasing his film Charm City Kings. The Los Angeles production company expressed their interest to make a new and different Transformer project with him. And Angel Manuel Soto personally pitched his idea to Paramount and Hasbro. The two companies liked the idea and gave it the green light. So up to this point, Angel has primarily done short films, some documentaries, and his first real major feature film, he did one before, but it wasn't something that really was on the radar, was this Charm City Kings. So if you want to kind of get an idea of his directing style, I suggest you go watch it. But apparently it was enough for Hasbro and Paramount to go, hey, maybe this guy could do something. Now, here's where we get to the really interesting stuff. Soto's Transformer project is still in the early stages, and the upcoming DC Blue Beetle movie, which he's also going to be directing. So I don't know which one's going to come first, but if we get that Blue Beetle DC Comics movie first, that'll be an even stronger indication of what we might be getting. It's kind of the same way that prior to seeing the first Transformer 2007 Michael Bay movie, I went back and I revisited some of Michael Bay's stuff that I watched, not really knowing who he was, just watching those movies for what they were, like Armageddon and Pearl Harbor. And it kind of gave us at least a little bit of a directing idea of what we were going to be dealing with. And, well, I'll be honest, if you watch Pearl Harbor or Armageddon, you watch the Transformer stuff, there's a lot of similarities there. So when this Blue Beetle movie comes out, if it comes out before this Transformer one, would also be another thing I would suggest Transformer fans go check out. I continue. The director is planning to humanize Transformer characters on his movie, personality-wise, not design-wise. He wants the robots to speak like us in a natural way. That's the way he remembers Transformers and the reason we felt we identified with those original Transformer characters. He believes that when you humanize characters, you get closer to them, love them. Where there's a human approach, you create a connection with them, and they're not just lifeless robots. Well then, it only took 14 years for someone to get the memo. Who would have thought that everyone loved Bumblebee in that 2007 movie because he was the one that was the closest with the character of Sam and thus was the most humanized of the bunch, while everyone else really was just a car advertisement, unfortunately. I wonder how many, dropkick, pickup trucks were sold after 2007 and a solstice. Anyways, I continue. Angel Manual Soto is surprised to see the reaction of the fans about him directing the movie. He doesn't want to let anyone down. While he can't speak much about the details, he says that the budget is over $50 million and it will be a challenge to manage it. He wants to bring as much of the movie as he can to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, by the way, is where he was born. Doesn't say that here, but I looked that up. Elsewhere, Mr. Soto also has stated that to make a movie about Transformers, he enjoyed a lot during his childhood years. Growing up, his father struggled to provide for the family, but still bought him Transformer toys, which he loves and cherishes. So at least we got a fan, which is good too. A director that actually loves Transformers as a child. So that's good news. Let's go back to what they said here. And this is very important here. $50 million budget. Now, that's going to be a brutal one, and I'll tell you why. I talked a little about this before, but let's pull it up anyways. So to give a perspective of the past Transformer movies that we've had, obviously not counting the 1986 movie because we're talking a crazy 35-year inflation and it's an animated movie done in Korea and Japan. Not really apples to oranges. Not really apples to apples, really apples to oranges in a lot of ways. But let's look at the 2007 movie onward. So $50 million budget for this guy's movie. To give an example, the last movie, the Bumblebee movie, was $102 million to $135 million. There's a wiggle room there because there's also advertising and stuff. The Last Night was $215 million to $260 million. So that was a big mamma jamma, the most expensive of all the Transformer movies to make up to this point. Age of Extinction was $210 million. Dark of the Moon was $195 million. Revenge of the Fallen was $200 million to $210 million. And the lowest of the bunch here, of the live-action movies, not counting Bumblebee, the Transformers 2007 movie was $150 to $200 million, with some wiggle room. So to give perspective, all of these movies, with the exception of the Bumblebee movie, are 3 to 4 to 5 times more the budget. And even in the case of the Bumblebee movie is double the budget of this one. Now, that's kind of one of those, sweater jerkers going like, yeah, I don't know, $50 million in 2021 to throw together a Transformer movie really makes me wonder how much this guy's going to have to work with. To just give perspective, the Steven Caple Jr. Beast Alliance movie was stated to be a $200 million movie. So the way that I see it, that's going to be the mainline movie. And this movie that's being done here with Angel Manuel Soto is going to be the spin-off, smaller movie, if you will. The question is, what does $50 million gets you? Now, I went to boxofficemojo.com and I just pulled up what are some big name movies that had $50 million as their budget. And of course, I also had to work in the confines of inflation because when you look at, let's say, like even example, Shrek, the first Shrek movie was a $50 million movie, but it was also 2001, 20 years ago. So imagine Shrek is 20 years old now. Woo! Jeez. But, if you start to get a little more closer, like to give an example, the recent Tom and Jerry movie that they did, which was just last month or so, that was a $50 million movie. The Rambo Last Blood movie in 2019 was a $50 million movie. The Street Fighter Legend of Chun-Li movie, which a lot of people panned, was a $50 million movie. The Emoji movie was a $50 million movie. One of the Twilight movies was a $50 million movie. It was the cheapest one to manufacture of the bunch, which was New Moon. And I don't want to go too much into the old stuff, but even like Shark Boy and Lava Girl, $50 million movie. So to me, it's something that, judging by what $50 million can get you in the modern era today, it's going to be probably a 1 to 2 character movie. And I mean, if he really wants to humanize the Transformers, I think the movie's going to have to primarily focus on that character as opposed to a human character. Because how do you keep the budget down? Hire unknowns as your actors. You know, you literally get no, like, look, the Bumblebee movie had John Cena. You know, the Bumblebee movie had a whole bunch of CG designs of characters. That Cybertronian opening scene, and then, of course, you know, Shatter and Dropkick and Bumblebee making primarily the majority of the movie, and, of course, the cameos of other characters like Blitzwing and so on and so forth. So all of that was $102 million. So if you cut that in half, maybe 3 characters max, 3 CG models, and you just kind of work with that and then hire a whole bunch of unknown actors. And again, if they film somewhere that'll be cheaper to film, they could probably pull something off. And as long as it has heart and as long as it's something enjoyable, and again, the way that I see it, this will be the side piece movie, the spin-off to the 200 million Beast Alliance thing, I could be cool with that. You know, not every movie has to be the crazy blockbuster. When we look at, let's say, our Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, you know, you'll have your big crazy, you know, awesome CG kind of movies in Guardians of the Galaxy, and then on the flip side of it, you'll have stuff like, let's say, Winter Soldier, that really maybe has 1 or 2 CG scenes, and it's more for like ships or mock-ups and stuff like that, where it's more just actors and ground level stuff and much cheaper to make. But they're all part of a big picture, so we don't criticize one for being cheaper than the other, because again, it's all part of the big picture. Same thing like Thor, the first movie, it was done very cheaply. And when I say cheaply, I don't mean badly. I mean the budget was less. So I could still see this being pretty cool. You know, I could still see it working out. Again, I'm curious. I'm really curious because, again, anyone that's a fan of the brand that wants to humanize the Transformers, he's already going in the right direction, in my opinion. Where you could have a $300 million Transformer movie, but if it's just there to show off cars and have the characters not even be actual characters and just literally be set pieces, I'm not going to be down for that. So good luck to Angel. I hope he puts something really good together, and I'm really curious to see what's going to be happening in the future in relation to this movie, because it seems to have a much more unique scenario than everything that we've had before up to this point. The Bumblebee movie being probably the closest of anything we could compare to. But yeah, that being said, tonight we have a live stream. Be sure to check it out, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and maybe we'll have some new developments and we could discuss what we have here in front of us.